All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the CFT Fitcast. I am Coach Vinny. Lineup looks a little different today, guys. Chris lost weight. He got just super athletic, and, he's Asian. I didn't want to say it. But no, Coach Chris just had a baby boy, so congratulations to him. Landon is an awesome little guy. We can't wait to meet him. So congrats to Coach Chris. He's at home relaxing right now, enjoying baby time with his wife and his newborn baby boy. And then, our co-host today is going to be none other than Khai the Shadow Wu. And then to my right over here, this strapping young gentleman, this is Matt Overton. I'm going to let these guys introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Khai since he's our co-host, and then I'll lead it over to Matt, and we're just going to let these boys talk, and we're going to have some fun today.
I'm Khai. I basically been in Tracy my whole life, and I was on here last time. It was a super fun experience, and I'm glad that you guys invited me back on. I'm glad I'm on your guys' good side because you guys got some good things brewing on here, so I'm excited.
Very cool. How many fights have you had?
Two. I've had two fights since you guys last saw me. I lost my Bellator debut, and that there's nothing that cures a loss like a win. So I went right back into it, and then I got a fight in Asia, went back to Taiwan, and I got a first-round submission. I didn't want like a bounce-back win, like, oh, okay, he's back. I want it to be like, oh, wow, I want them to question my last fight. Was that even, me? So I was able to get a first-round submission, came out of it unscathed. Hopefully that happens in my next fight too. And I'll be fighting in Bellator again September 29th on the Gegard Mousasi and Rory McDonald card. So super excited. And Rampage and Vanderlei, you can't miss those legends, those old school guys. So I'm excited to be I don't know if there's another pro fighter out of Tracy, I take pride in that because that's something I've been building ever since I was a kid in Tracy, because everybody goes, oh, there's nothing in Tracy, there's that. So it feels nice.
Very cool. Well, speaking from a pro fighter over here, we're going to hand it over here now to our Matt. What is it that you actually do? Let the people know.
Well, I play football, man. I've been blessed and fortunate going into my 7th year in the NFL, and I'm from Tracy originally, and I'm here visiting and helping out the kids as they're getting ready for their season. And right now I'm a free agent, so I'm going through that transition of just staying ready, preparing, and had off-season surgery on my shoulder this year. So that's something new that I'm going through, and my rehab has been really good. My surgery went really well. So it's my first time going through that. So some adversity there and some unknowns, and it's a long process. It's been nearly 8 months now since surgery. So actually more than that. Got surgery right after Thanksgiving, and so just going through that process has been it's been trying, it's been difficult, it's been tough, but I can't even think of a time that I've been in better shape and stronger. I'm getting older now. I'm 33, and so I know, man. I'm playing a young man's game, so it is one of those things where right now I'm just really focusing on the little things like nutrition and recovery and my rehab and strength training, and I can't get away with not doing those things like I could 10 years ago. Well, it's just, right now, I'm focused on my diet a lot more than I was a few years ago, and I see the results, and I'm focusing on the little details of rehab and recovery, because when you're younger, you recover a lot faster, and now I don't as quick. So it's like I need to stay on top of my game a lot more consistently and try to keep up with these young bucks in the game, and there's a handful of teams that have shown interest and have reached out to me and been on their short list. So just like you said, I got to be ready when that call comes, because last year I was a free agent at this time last year, and I got a call, and I packed a bag, went to Jacksonville, and played there for the season. So that very well could happen this year. So feeling great. It's good to be home, and it's good to meet, other pro athletes that are out of Tracy. It's just really cool to connect and relate on a bunch of different levels and get to learn their sport too. So, just have some fun and good to be back.
Yes, it's definitely good to have Matt back. I mean, I met Matt back in high school, and we both went to Tracy High. Matt's a year older than me. We have a lot of the same friends, and I mean, even in high school, the guy was a beast. Always one of the hardest working guys. It was fun to watch him then, and following his career. Even throughout college. Seeing someone kind of go through that system. Getting cut and just going back to training, the journey, the passion, the sticking to your goals, all of that stuff. And then, looking into a 7-year career, I mean, that's the life expectancy of a pro ball player. It's not that high. And, with you kind of always have that mindset of life after football, what's going to happen next, staying on top of everything, your nutrition. But a lot of it too is that you're a very well educated athlete too. School was always big for all of us too. And it sticks with us today. You can come back to town and go to Tracy High, any of the schools here in town, and you just give back. And, the community, that's awesome to see. You don't see a lot of pro athletes giving back, not that they have to either. Like, you don't owe anybody anything. You've worked for this on your own. You've got your family and, your close loved ones to thank for, all of that. And, but nothing can take away the hard work, the dedication, that either of you have. Khai's in his early 20s, you're in your early 30s. It's a big gap. You're trying to keep up with this guy. He's faster, he can recover, but it's also, you can do that too. Yeah.
I'm starting to feel it.
You're a fighter, Matt's a football player, but you guys are both athletes.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's talk a little bit about, your journey, Khai. Let the world know where you're from and let the kids know some knowledge.
Well, as in any line of professional sports, like there's a huge sacrifice to be made. I'm sure I found that relatable with almost any of the. I remember when I used to hang around at the old AK. Herschel Walker was there when he made his MMA debut, and I saw he was 48. He's 48 fighting guys that are, and then he was a white belt. That's unheard of. Just a white belt learning everything and trying to go after it. And I was just kind of there was a little, it wasn't doubt, it was just fear, he's going to go in there and what happens if something goes wrong, but he ended up winning both his fights. And I was like, wow, that's inspirational. So, and seeing the stuff that he did at 48, as soon as he was done practice, he's got to go do the recovery, ice bath, stretch. And I'm like, man, everybody, all the younger guys, as soon as they're done with practice, hit lunch or, go out or, they go do their own thing. But he's just so dedicated. So, when I was in high school, I remember every Friday, it's I had two options. I could either go to the local house party and have some fun or go hit the streets and start running, or hitting the bag in my garage. So it was you're always, as a younger kid, you're always faced with those choices because you want to do, you want to have fun early on because that's what everybody's doing. But then the sport that you end up choosing to do, the career, if it's not a sport that everybody does, then you need to do things that not everybody does. And as a martial artist, I always say I like to look at myself as more of a martial artist than a fighter, because a fighter fights for the glory, and I fight for the battle. I want that. It's like this through all sports. I want that unachievable technique. Therefore, you're always chasing. You're always going after the impossible. So you just nonstop learning. You never learn. The traffic is bad every day going to Pleasanton, my gym in Richmond. But then when I'm in practice and I got a bigger guy on top of me and he's trying to choke me and I'm in the choke and I'm suffocating, I'm getting my carotid artery cut off. But then it's the same thing in traffic. You got to be patient with it. So then it translates to life. And then if I had not made those choices on training at my house instead going out, I would have lost one of those experiences. Therefore, you know, I wouldn't have been as dedicated. So as like a athlete, like like these choices matter, like always pushing off aside. Like I always look back at it and the mistakes I make in the gym, I'm like, damn, I shouldn't have gone out that night. I should probably stay at home and do this and that. And I'm a huge superhero nerd, so I go watch Avengers or something instead of staying home and watching like a couple fights and learning from it. But it's a good balance that you have to find. But it's such, I don't know. Did you, like, when you're younger, I'm sure you had to face those choices, right? Like going
for sure, man. Like
we grew up in this town.
Yeah, I mean, you know, back in the early 2000s, not a lot going on. Really, there was just, you know, you had your sports, you had school, and then you had the country parties where we'd be out in, you know, the orchards, you know, bonfires and getting into trouble, all that kind of stuff. And I would say, like, the Tracy community, for the most part, maybe not so much today, but it's, you know, when it had the small town mentality, everybody knew each other, everyone was pretty close. Athletic-wise, you know, you either came up through the Pop Warner ranks together at a young age, and then, you know, you either went to West or Tracy High, you know. And everyone that went to Tracy or West, we all played together at some point in our careers, you know. So we got to, that's where the rivalry kind of started, you know, because you're now playing against your old friends and whatnot. But yeah, growing up here, it was not a lot to do really. It was easy to get in trouble, but it was like innocent trouble, you know. It was innocent fun, and but yeah, a lot of kids nowadays they're faced with a lot more options. I feel like, you know, with, you know, the technology aspect of things. And it takes away, you know, I feel blessed and fortunate that, you know, growing up, you know, you ride your bike or you rollerblade or skateboard to get to where you want to go. And there was video games and whatnot, but it wasn't as like, it didn't take your time and consume you like it does nowadays. You know, I just felt like a little bit safer growing up out here too. It's like, I just remember roaming the streets at midnight or 1 a.m. without no worries. And my parents knew where I was going to be at. I was either going to be here, or there. You know, it's like, it's just crazy how times have changed, how this city has grown, how more diverse the city is. But with that, like you said, going back to choices, like, you know, I try to talk to these kids, man. It's like, there's so many distractions nowadays, you know, with social media being a huge influence in these kids' lives. It's easy to get their minds molded through that platform, unfortunately. But you know, you separate yourself by the choices you make. You have to surround yourself with good people. That's one thing that I always, you know, tell these kids, that you need to surround yourself with like-minded people. You know, if you want to be a professional athlete, not everyone's going to be a professional athlete, but if you want to succeed on the field, on the court, in the gym, whatever it may be, being around the same people like-minded is very important, because you guys can push each other. You guys have the same goals. You have the same ambitions. And you may not get that support at home. So it's important to find friends and, you know, relate with other people, and hold each other accountable. That's huge, you know. It's so easy to go down the wrong path. You know what I'm saying? And it's easy to say, nah, I'm going to train tomorrow. Nah, I'm going to train tomorrow. Nah, I'm going to do it tomorrow. And I can't imagine what it's like being, you know, a fighter or a martial artist, right? Because that's inner will, and that's a lot of self-taught. It's a single man. You're not on a team. You may have a coach. You may have a guy that, you know, you work on your grappling or your ground stuff or your stand-up stuff, and all those special technique stuff. But if you're not on a team, it's all on you. It's on your shoulders. You know, so like you said, instead of going to those parties, running the streets, you know, getting your cardio in. I found myself, I don't know where it really came from, but I found myself doing little extra stuff like that when I was younger. Maybe it was because my grandfather was a college coach at the time, and my dad played college ball, and he really pushed me, and I had that support from home. But for whatever reason, I kind of felt like I always had something within me that pushed me. I felt very blessed to have that. You know, it's like, you know, the work ethic that I have, I feel very fortunate to have. Like, I feel guilty not working out, kind of thing. You know, if I know that I took a day off or I cheated myself, I'm like, dang, come on, man, like, get back on track, you know. But these kids have to realize that, in order to achieve your dream, there takes sacrifice, it takes hard work, it takes a lot of patience and perseverance. It's not easy. There's a lot of people out there that are gifted and talented but don't work at nothing, and I hate seeing kids, not make it because of choices they made, not putting the work in, failing out of school. I mean, it's unfortunate. It sucks, but the hard work does pay off, and kids have to understand that it's not going to be easy. But one way or another, your hard work's going to pay off, and it may not pay off in the way that you want to. Like, I know that if the NFL was always my ultimate dream, but I know that if I never made it to the NFL, my hard work and what football taught me would have translated great into just everyday life. You know what I'm saying? Like, builds your character, makes you accountable. It teaches you camaraderie, teamwork, all that kind of stuff, and how to treat people. And so, all those things are important, and I just think, these kids just need positive influences in their lives where, that's why it's cool that we can sit here and talk about like our paths, because, it's not really normal for guys to come out of Tracy, California, as a pro fighter or NFL player, whatever it may be. And so that's why I always kind of feel like it's important. And, I do owe it to the community because, like, I had so many coaches along the line, not many. I had a lot of coaches, but there's a few that always stick out in my mind that always believed in me, you know what I'm saying? And those guys, I owe it a lot to that. And the community has been so supportive for me in my career that I love coming back and just sharing my time with them and helping where I can. So
yeah, that's cool because you're like I don't want to say former generation, but you've already been through the journey, So then a lot of people that want to go in that field, because football is a lot more popular than MMA currently. So I know a lot of like when I was going through high school, a lot of the friends that were like, oh, I want to go to the NFL, they really wanted to do it, but because either their family was telling them it's impossible, or like they ended up just kind of sidetracking themselves with like social media is a distraction. And in my opinion nowadays, personally in my opinion, I didn't grow up in your guys' generation, see how you guys were, but my siblings are a lot older than me. They're like 40, and I feel like nowadays there's a lot more freak athletes. Like this generation has like a lot more, like athletically speaking, they're more impressive than before. They're like I just feel like there's more of them now. But because of that too, it's almost like they don't have to work as hard. So that was like my reason for working hard, because I always had to play catch up. I couldn't do anything. I was not a physical guy. I'm not fast, I'm not strong. So I was always like, man, I need to play catch up. If I don't do this jogging right now, I can't last. I can't even like just keep up. I'm going to hold everybody back, or I'm going to look embarrassing, And coming from Asian culture, Asian background, you don't see a lot of us in sports in general. And it's not that there isn't any, it's just in Asian Americans, they grow up with the social norm of being great in school and just going to be a doctor and a lawyer, and that's great. But I was just kind of tired of seeing that, I was like, I bet you anything this doctor, we're going to go to Mom, he's Chinese. And then we go there and he is, So I was like, maybe it's time for a little bit of a switch up, because when, it sticks to the norm. I don't want everybody just, oh, what do you want to be, a doctor or a lawyer? I'm like, I'm actually a fighter. I'm a mixed martial artist. They're like, no way. And I don't have any tattoos on me. Yeah. And, no Conor McGregor walk or anything. So it's kind of funny. And in Tracy, I remember everybody always was like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know, but I did get tired of I'm sure you heard this a lot too, is Tracy's boring. Yeah. So when you talk about giving back to the community, I was like, you know what? When I'm done fighting, I want to open up a gym in Tracy. So after school, there's something to look forward to, instead of just going like out in the middle of nowhere and then maybe, like you said, doing something you probably shouldn't, but like there's a gym to look forward to. And if you go to the gym, not even just fighting, just in general, a gym, you have something to build towards. Oh, maybe I want to do a small tournament for fun. And then if you don't show up, you get beat up. And if you get beat up, you either go, I never want to do this again, or I didn't like that feeling and I want to play catch up. So then when you play catch up, you're always staying active and you're doing things that matter and translate to life. So it's cool to see you give back to the community, because I'm the guy that I'm starting to get onto the scene a little bit more, and I want to eventually do, those kind of stuff. Open up a gym or a place for people to look forward to doing something, because everybody's nowadays are so talented. It's like, if I wish I had this guy's explosive strength. I saw some of the football players at my school. I'm like, man, imagine if he learned how to throw a right hand. That'd be money. He'd be a killer. So then it's just kind of stuff like that, because a lot of people have it easier now in social media. One cool highlight play, they get reposted and they're just freaking out. And it's cool, but it's a double-edged sword. So it's very nice seeing somebody give back to the community, because I grew up in Tracy. This is in my opinion, I call it home too. And growing up, I didn't have any other athletes that I could look up to or just relate to, because there's not a big Asian community here. But now, after I'm done with high school, now I see like this huge Asian population moving on in. I'm like, I'm always playing the catch up, but at the same time, now I'm in a position where I could potentially be the example. So it's really cool seeing that, as an athlete.
Yeah. Well, going back to kind of talk about I graduated in 2003, so 15 years ago, talking a long time ago. It's crazy. But,
I'm like right behind him.
Growing, just 15 years ago, there was nothing. MMA wasn't it was like backyard brawling, right?
Yep.
It was backyard wrestling. It was just crazy stuff like that. But the MMA scene was in existence. You really, if you dug for it, you could find it, but it wasn't anything big, right? What Vinny's doing here with the CrossFit training and the Altamont Training Center, it's like there was nothing. There was no outside training outside your school. There was no specialized skill. There was no. Yeah, we went to InShape. I hopped the fence of InShape because I didn't have any membership, and I would go work out there. I had my buddy open the back door, and I'd go in there. But even when I got in there, I really didn't know what to do. I had no knowledge at training or what I needed to work on, sports specific stuff. Functional movement. Everything is so specialized nowadays. So these kids have so many more options when it comes to that. And that's why these athletes are, it's not that they're genetically more gifted than they were 15, 20 years ago. It's just that now these kids at a younger age are being exposed to this type of training, footwork, speed work, all this stuff, right? You see guys on YouTube that are football-wise, there's an 8-year-old kid that's viral because he can run through the bags, he could juke out kids, and he's doing all these moves that he sees his idols doing on the NFL field. So it's like we didn't have YouTube back then. We didn't have Facebook. We didn't have that kind of stuff. So I think, the exposure that kids are getting now, they're able to emulate what they see.
A lot more access to information.
There's no question. Yeah. And it's like, all right, this guy's getting faster and bigger and stronger because of this. All right, I'm going to do just that. And he gets bigger, faster, and stronger, and nutrition's bigger now. It's like back in the day, it was like muscle milk. That's the, and we would drink muscle milk like it was nothing,
Kidney stone.
Yeah, and you're getting, it's not to say that muscle milk's bad, but that's all that was there. Yeah. We knew nothing about these different diets and plant-based stuff and creatine, all that. We didn't have any, it was like steroids or, really we had no education behind it, you know what I'm saying? And it was more like everything was just hard-nosed. Like, all right, no water breaks, we're keep running, keep going. There was no science behind why we're doing this, And so it's crazy. You're right. These kids are developed more. There's more athletes out there. There's more skill, and it's all because of what they're exposed to. So yeah, kids nowadays, it's like, all right, if you want to be good at baseball, you need to start at 5 years old. You need to learn how to throw a fastball at 8. You need to learn how to throw a curveball by 10. It's like all this. It's crazy. I kind of feel bad for the kids because it's like, they really are exposed to really too much, right? They can't just develop on their own. In order to keep up, they have to start earlier. They got to be going consistently. It's like this travel baseball stuff. It's like year round. They don't ever stop.
And the problem with that, too, is by the time these kids are 12, 13, they're done.
Yeah, or they've torn their rotator cuff, or they
don't want to play
Tommy John's or whatever they call it, and it's crazy. But it's like you said, it's a double-edged sword. There's a lot of great things with it. There's a lot of negative things that come with it. But it ultimately comes down to the individual athlete too. I mean, if you really want it bad enough and you have, the support and you have the burning desire inside to get better, you'll find a way. Yeah. And not every kid has the ability to go to an elite facility and train. Not everybody's brought up in the same circumstance, and there are some guys that have to work a lot harder. For me, like, I was never the best athlete. I wasn't big, fast, and strong. Coming out of high school, I had no scholarship offers. I was just undersized. I played well. But Division I, you got to be 6'3", 250. They have all these measurements that you need to like measure up to, and I didn't have it. So I went to junior college, and that was probably the best thing for me, because it got me ready for the next level, and I got to stay closer to home and all that kind of stuff, and it developed me into a better player and prepared me for the next level, and it's like, these kids are so, I want to get to point A and point B right now. They don't realize that between point A and point B, there's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of trials. There's a lot of letdowns. It's like, with you, there's a lot of losses. There's a lot of beat downs. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. There's days where you feel like you want to quit, that this is not for me. For me, like, I've been cut by several different teams and been told I couldn't do it, been told I'm done. It's like, that dash between A and B it's crazy, man. And you don't know where it's going to take you. But it's just like the preparation behind it. It's like, you have to stay ready. It's your next fight. You may not know when the next fight's going to come. Yeah. And I tell these kids, man, it's like the worst feeling, honestly. I'd rather lose, in a game or whatever it may be, or a head-on-head workout. I'd rather lose that knowing that I gave my all and I was ready than just going into a situation and just knowing that you aren't ready. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's the worst. Being out of shape or just not being prepared. Like, I hate that feeling. It's the worst.
Yeah, I'd rather lose a fight than lose the opportunity, because I'd rather, not do things that I regret. My mom always told me, she's like, if you want to do it, don't regret it after. Yeah. I'd rather do it and be like, that was terrible, than not, have done it. Like, it's like a lot of the football kids that want to, and the athletes that want to go, it's like, try it, if you, at the end of the day, you didn't reach your goal, you still like, man, I logged in all those hours. That's a lot of, you went after it. That's the point, execution. Yeah. But right now, a lot of the people I'm growing up with, and I noticed, it's like they fell off. A lot of them just got complacent. They got lazy because they're like, it's too much work. And I'm just like, you gotta, like, it's not even just desire and wanting it anymore. It's just the drive. Like, when they don't see, like you said, the payoff, like, they're like, well, I played all 4 seasons. And I'm like, okay, but they're not, they're like, nobody's giving me a phone call. I don't have any sponsorships or anything like that. And then I'm just like, yeah, come on, like, you gotta just push through that. Yeah. And then it all of a sudden hits you. And then when it does hit you, it hits you hard. I'm sure
Well, it's adversity, man. Adversity
it's mindset for you guys, and like having that balance. I mean, if you look at like the evolution of your athleticism and your career, it's like you played Pop Warner, you played high school, not getting those offers out of high school, it was like you still kept going. Like, you could have quit right there. I'll just go to college, I'll just do my thing, probably screw around for 4 or 5 years, maybe go on the 6-year plan. But you kept going, you went to college, you played football, and, then you get those calls and you're going to NFL camps. They're telling you no, like, you're too small. So it's like a matter of inches between you and one guy is why you're not getting the job. Like, that's like crushing. That's like telling a 5-year-old, you could have played better today, son, when you should just go take him to get an ice cream cone. Yeah. Like, you're destroying that kid, and thinking like your evolution started a little bit later. It's like, man, I'm fucking good at football. Yeah. Like, I can hit the gym. Like, you have that mindset, and like, you just kept getting better. Like, yeah, you put on the weight they wanted you to put on. Couldn't get you taller, but more explosive. Like, no one can outmatch how hard you work and like your dedication.
That's the thing for me. Like, I know, like, when I go into a workout and I look at the dudes that I'm there with the workout, and maybe the same for you when you go to matches, it's like, it's not even that. Like, I know when I look at you, it takes me less than 30 seconds to know if you've been working. As soon as you put those shorts on, those pads on, whatever it may be, and I see you changing in the locker room, and I know that it's between you and me to get this job, like, I have no doubt in my mind that, you know, that I got it. Or if I see them snap a ball and I'm like, this dude's not been working. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's no, for sure. But it's like, I know I take so much pride in my work ethic that I know that I put in the time, I put in the sacrifices, and I know that this dude is not going to beat me, you know. And if he does, then, you know, that just drives me. You know, there's days where I'm not on, you know. And if I get beat in a workout and I get beaten in a tryout, you know, it's like, all right, I take something that I learned, because usually I learn from a lot of guys, and that's what's really cool. It's like, you can't be stubborn, dude. You can't be so egotistical that you don't learn from your peers, you know. And you have to. It's really cool, and when it all goes back to surrounding yourself with like-minded people. You know, I train with a lot of guys, but when I train with the pro guys, it's a different mindset. You know, your level of play rises. I get more excited. I get amped up, but I also learn, man. I'm like, oh, that guy's doing that. That's pretty good. I'm gonna maybe, you know, that technique is legit. That works for him. Maybe that can help me out. And so I think, you know, learning from the older guys or learning from guys who are, you know, working to get the same thing that you're getting, it's vital, man. It's like you have to absorb all that and apply it to how you train, you know, because I go on YouTube and I watch how guys are training. What are they doing, you know, because it helps me. And I like to get critiqued. That's why, you know, out here I've been working with this guy named Paul Assad. He's been my snapping coach since my junior year in college, and still to this day, 10 years later, you know, he tweaks a little thing that I may not pick up on, and it's like, dang, man, you just took that little tweak to make me that much better. And so I love working with guys that, you know, can help and benefit me. But yeah, when it comes down to that, having that competitive mindset, you know, I just know that when I walk into that room and that locker room and onto that field for a workout, it's like, and I see the guys I'm going against, like, man, game on. I know I got you. Like, you have to go with that confidence, because, man, it's so easy to see guys that lack confidence, man.
Yep.
It really is.
And I can definitely relate to that. You know, being a coach, being a trainer for almost 12 years now, like, I've been in those situations where I walk into a conference or walk into a seminar or training with a room full of other girls and guys, and like, I may not be the biggest, I know I'm not the fastest or the strongest, but, you know, like you said, you can kind of walk in the room and kind of size everybody up real quick and be like, yeah, I got this. Like, no one is gonna outwork me. And like, that's a completely different mindset. And, you know, like, for me, like, I played sports my whole life, but I knew that my path wasn't gonna be professional, but I loved the thought that I could work with professional athletes. Like, and, you know, being able to know you guys, and, you know, when you had your injury, like, just having you in that one day, it's like, I can show him something in my tool bag that I know no one else is showing him. And that's something that sticks with somebody. Like, you just make that connection, and it's awesome that, like, whenever you're in town, like, we can easily link up. Like, you know, it's just having that relationship. And, you know, the fact that, you know, we're talking about technology, the fact that we can do this podcast and it's already getting out to people, like, making that instant connection, you know, and knowing that, like, neither of you, like, have quit in you, like, always staying up on top of stuff. You know, someone like Khai, who's early into his career, but he knows he's not going to fight his entire life. You know, even with you, like, you're in your prime right now. So it's like, of course, you could probably hang it up. You know, you've got a successful business back home. You know, there's life after sports for both of you guys. And I think a lot of the problem is our kids don't get that message, to where now we see these guaranteed contracts, and it's like, you don't really have to prove yourself a lot. You just kind of have to possess something. And you can make a lot of money, but whether or not you're making an impact, like I could care less about the guy who's making $50-60 million guaranteed, because he doesn't know who I am. He might give back, he might not, I really don't know that type of mindset, but looking at guys like you that, I appreciate so much more of like the grind, the hustle, and the impact you guys can make, and it'll be everlasting. And we're just trying to like you said, it's for the kids, it's for the youth. Like we want to create a different mindset, especially for this town. Like when I moved here, there's like 18,000 people here in Tracy. It was a cow town, like you said, we used to hang out in ditches, and our parents, we'd go home and smell like fire and beer, but like it was a safe town. Like I'm still not afraid of this town. Like, yeah, crime goes up everywhere, you just can't escape it, but you can't be afraid of your town. Once you're afraid of your town, it's everything's.
That's also going back to what he said too. He was talking about surrounding yourself with good people.
Good people.
Like in the fight business, all you need to do is hit that one fight and you're set for life, right? But the point I think a lot of people are missing is you don't need to surround yourself with the best people.
No.
It's just the right people, for sure. Like I feel like everybody's always trying to go after the best. Like no disrespect or anything, but like not a lot of people know who you are.
No.
But do you have the knowledge that you could offer to somebody?
Exactly.
Like a professional athlete.
Yeah.
Like I still train out of my garage sometimes, and everybody's like, "Well, why aren't you at the best performance lab you could ever find?" And I'm like, because I got what I need.
Yep. And you could have kids today that could look at it like, Matt's got a shitload of followers on Instagram, probably like 20, 30,000. What's he hanging out with a dude that has like barely 500? Like you have people that have that terrible mindset where it's like, oh, he's nothing. Yeah, he's nothing. Like come and see not even the facility. Like I could work with you in a closet, in a tiny space, and I'm still gonna give you my all,
So that's why I'm like always telling people, like a lot of the fighters, because they always get the best like they're always looking for contract sponsorships, this and that, and that's another topic, is the business topic. But in general, it's like you're not going to make good decisions on people who are looking out for their best interests. You need to invest in yourself, but by doing that, invest in others willing to invest in you. So indirectly, you're investing in yourself, and you got to find people willing to do that for you, which means like they don't always have to be the best at what they're doing, because if they are, that's great, and that's good. But a lot of times there's so much distractions because you're on maybe the bottom end of coming into a team or a gym. But when you got people that are doing their best to look out for you, because that's just, in general, that's a good person, they have moral code and ethics. When you get into this business, NFL, fighting, it's a ruthless game, man. You're putting yourself out to always get, bombarded with negative comments. So mentally, you got to already be there. And if you're not, and you have people around you that just drop you as soon as things don't go right, then, it's not good. That's not, even if they are the best people, that's not the right ones for you. So I always appreciate when you have the right people around you. Like that's a huge emphasis.
And to think with you, like you have a fight team, so it's a much smaller, more intimate world where like Matt's on a team with like 32 guys. Is it more than 32? Or is
during this right now, there's 90 guys on the team in training camp, and then it moves down to like 63 throughout the year.
So it's like, and then you see such a different hierarchy, because like, yeah, you got guys that are multi-millionaire big shots, and then you got the guys that are making league minimum that probably work harder than anybody. They show up before the sun comes up. Some guys are just fighting for a job. There could be guys that go to mini camp just to have that experience. They get cut, they go back to work in their normal 9-to-5 jobs, trying to support their families. You even have guys that are still trying to graduate college and chase some sort of fame. And it's a grind. It's mentally draining. Like to just say, hey, you're cut. Like that could be your dream. And in professional sports, it's the life expectancy of that athlete. It's very minimal, like that you're going to last, looking at guys like Brady and LeBron, guys that are well into their careers. It's like, that doesn't happen with everybody. Yeah. But then you look at the way they train, the way they take care of their nutrition. And yes, they have all the money in the world to have the best. But like you said, you don't always have to surround yourself around that. Like-minded people that support you. You know, Matt can probably still name all the same people that have been in his corner, you know, from day one, and they still follow him and support him. You know, I've met people just in my career as a trainer that they see me put up a post about him and they follow him and they just love his story. Like it could be Sunday, it's football day, and when Matt was suiting up, like, he kind of gave you that feel like you're at the game with him. Like, not a lot of athletes are doing that, you know, and, you know, now he's in that mode where he's just waiting for that phone call. But if it doesn't come, his life ain't over. Like, there's going to be life after football for Matt. He put a hell of a career. The dude's been to the Pro Bowl. Like, he got to snap footballs to Adam Vinatieri. Like, guy's got stories. And it's something you respect too. And the fact that he takes time to come here, chat with us. He's at Tracy High working with kids. And then he gets his in and out. We had to wait for him to eat his burger.
I'm on that keto diet, dude. I gotta get my
He's on a keto diet. But you know, that's the grind, guys. You know, these are two professional athletes. One's a football player, one's an MMA. Those are two different ends of the spectrum, but hard work, dedication, it's all part of the game, whether you're fighting or you're on the field. I mean, Khai is such a well-rounded athlete. You could probably put pads on him, teach him a little bit, and he could probably excel at the game, you know, better than some guys that have been doing it for years. Same thing with Matt. He's got that mindset and that skill where you could probably teach you how to roll around on a mat. And
I'm good, man. I'll tap out.
You got a big dude. Like, let's see how fast he taps out. Like, hell, put me on the football field. Like, I'll probably have some fun. I'll roll around on a mat. Like, that thing is just being open, you know. And like, parents, don't force stuff down your kids' throats. Like, let them try one sport at a time. I mean, my biggest thing is get them away from the screen. You know, get them off the video games. Kids don't need cell phones. I mean, if I wanted to play with Matt when we were kids, it was I'd go knock on his door, you know, or that phone that was attached to the wall with the cord. You're a little young for those, but that's times are changing. But, you know, surrounding yourself with good people, knowing your community, having fun, that's never gonna change. Like, enjoy your life, laugh. You know, we're in such a different world right now where everybody's so sensitive to everything. You know, it's a shitty world we live in, but there's good people like Khai and Matt that live in it. Things could be worse.
Oh man, it's just like when you talk about like surrounding yourself, you don't have to always work with the best or be around the best. Or, I mean, that's definitely true, and I just definitely. What I like to call it back to your roots. You know, it's like I love coming back to Tracy because this is where I'm from.
Yeah. Well, this was before all the big money and all the contracts.
But this is where the dream was born. You know, this is where I started Tracy Raiders. You know, when I drive by the softball fields on Tracy Boulevard, I just have great memories. That's where I got cut. When I first time trying out football, I got cut on that field. And so it just brings back those memories. It humbles yourself. But yeah, you know, some of my greatest mentors in football have no football experience. You know, they're not a coach, they're not a former player, they're not whatever it may be. It's all about, you know, one of my greatest mentors in my life has been a chiropractor who just helps me with my body, helps me with, you know, he helped me, honestly, like I could have went to Dr. Andrews, the best shoulder ortho surgeon in the country, if not the world. He works on every, you know, premier athlete there is on their shoulders. But I decided to find, you know, somebody local in Indiana that could do the same job, if not better, get more attention, and someone who really cares about my career. And it turned out to be one of the best decisions in my career to have that surgery done by that guy. And then finding a therapist that was going to put that time and effort and passion into helping me, and then finding a trainer, you know. So, I mean, I really got lucky aligning that whole team together to get me back, because, you know, it's like football may never happen, I may never play again, But I knew that when I went into surgery, I said, listen, I'm going to come back in better shape and I'm going to get myself ready, because if that time comes and I want to shine and I want to play and prove to myself, not prove to people and that I can still do it, because I know I can do it, but prove it to myself that, I can still get on that field and perform at a high level, and go out and be a champion, man, and walk away knowing that I gave my all and my passion and put my heart into it, and it's cool with you. Like I said, not a lot of professional athletes have come out of Tracy. So when I was in high school, the only guy that came out was Nick Eddy. He played at Notre Dame and played in the league for a while. And that was back in like the 40s and 50s, bro. I mean, this is a long time ago. And maybe not that long ago, but it was a long time ago. And I always walked by and I saw his jersey hanging in the showcase, trophy case. I'm like, man, I want my jersey in there one day. And I got to meet Nick and thank him for just, being an inspiration, even though I didn't even know him. And I think for you being the pioneer, like, hey, man, Khai is the first, guy to come out of Tracy, Kimball High School, to be a professional fighter. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's cool, man. Take pride in that. And, yeah, man, it's cool to connect with you here in Tracy and thank Vinny. He, like he said, he helped me with my shoulder rehab, just working on little things like that, So, and he's been a huge influence on our youth.
I appreciate it, boys. I appreciate you coming on the podcast. Definitely look out for this one, guys. Look out for both of these boys. Khai's going to be fighting Bellator SAP Center coming up in September, and look out for Matt. All right. Thanks for watching, guys.
See you guys. Thanks.
Appreciate it.